Okay, I'm going to open this one more time for recording. Hi, everyone. Nat Parker, co-chair of the Overlook Neighborhood Association. Apologies, I'm now recording. We've got it together. Tonight is our general meeting. Unfortunately, we don't have the presence of Stacy Newsell, who's our co-chair. She was having some medical challenges and couldn't join us, but we are thinking about her. I want to thank everyone for showing up tonight. We have a relatively straightforward agenda. Tonight, we're going to go through and introduce our new board members to the rest of the audience. We will go through standard board reports, which I believe are kind of committee-based updates, topical updates about goings on in the neighborhood. We'll, of course, have a section for public comment. We'll talk about North Portland in motion on the transportation side. And then I think we'll also, the big thing tonight is to have the architect behind the 1560 North going apartment plan do a presentation for us to understand what's going on there. So with that, maybe we can start with, I've got 3 more people just coming in. There we go. Great. Hopefully for those of you who've just joined, you can hear us loud and clear. I would say if anyone has an issue, a question, feel free to jump in. Someone's telling me all participants should be muted. I'm just going to keep it open for now, and then I'll do that if I need to. I think if people want to chat, they can chat. So, all right, with that, I'd like to welcome everyone, and I'd love to ask all of the new board members to take a moment to introduce themselves, and I'll go ahead and kick it off. Again, I'm Nat Parker. I've lived in the Overlook neighborhood since 2016. If you know the little triangle park that used to be the streetcar turnaround off of North Shaver, I'm right on the corner there of Shaver and Concord. So would love to see you stop by, say hello. I have 2 small kids who you might hear in the background, hopefully not too much, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. And I actually just got back in time. My daughter had her first ear infection last night, and we just got back from the doctor. So kind of running with things and learning on the fly, which is good training for the neighborhood association. Professionally, I work as a consultant. I help technology companies, venture capital firms, and others with business strategy. I was an entrepreneur. That's sort of my big background, and started a company here called Globe Sherpa. We were a startup behind the TriMet Tickets mobile payment app, as well as the Hop FastPass app. So I can speak about mobility all day long and look forward to hearing more about that from Nick. So that's me. Let me pass it off. Stacy is not here. Is Cassie on?
I think I saw Cassie was not going to be here tonight either.
Okay. All right. Cassie, unfortunately, cannot join us tonight, but she is our vice chair. She's also behind our Overlook Views newsletter. Very, very capable and accomplished person. So we'll leave it to her to introduce herself later. Brad, do you want to go next?
Sure. Brad Halverson. I've been on the board for a while after being off for a while and being on for a long time before that. So probably 20 years if you put everything together. This year, I'm going to be your treasurer, and I'll work on the grants as well, and I'll help Nick with transportation stuff. And I'm a pharmacist for Kaiser. Someday I'll be officially made to be working from home permanently, but for the moment, I technically am not. So I used to work at Best Kaiser, which is now Adidas. I used to work at the Interstate campus in probably every building there. So been around a while and hope to continue to help.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks a lot, Brad. Appreciate you sticking with us. John, you are our new secretary. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm John Carter. I'm the new secretary and a new member of the board. Let's see. Professionally, I work for Portland Community College. I across the district, but often focus a lot on the Cascade campus located in our neighborhood. I do transportation related work there, mostly focused on active transportation, so modes other than driving alone. So one of the things that we do are free bike clinics around town. One of which we do in Peninsula Park on Mondays from 10 to 2 p.m. I'm a musician and like a poet and performer. You might see me around in open mics every once in a while. Yeah, I'm very excited to get involved in the neighborhood association. This is my first time being a part of a neighborhood association. I really love this neighborhood, and I feel very rooted here. So wanted to contribute, and I'll be in addition to being secretary, I'll also be focusing on parks and have a lot of ideas for how we could improve our parks here.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot for the intro, John. What do you play, by the way, as a musician? What's your...
Oh, I mean, I play primarily I play keys, but I kind of do a little bit of everything.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I do a lot of like improvised stuff. Very good with word flow, things like that.
Awesome. Well, please let us know if you're performing or going on stage at any point, so we have a chance to go.
Yeah, well, actually, one that's kind of close in the neighborhood, close to our neighborhood, is every month at Cruise Romantics. So I'm also DJ on Shady Pines Radio, and they do a monthly kind of like showcase and like awareness of the radio station.
Cool.
So I'll be performing there in November.
Awesome. All right. My first official request is if you could give us some lead in and lead out music for our general meetings to make this hip. That would be,
heck yeah,
I could
I could write a theme song for next time.
Done.
Yeah.
Please put that in the notes.
Okay.
All right. Is there anyone else, either a previous board member or anyone that would like to just introduce themselves? We have just a couple more minutes, so you're welcome to.
Introduce myself.
Yeah, Juliet.
I'm Juliet. I'm a new board member.
Yes.
I've lived in Overlook since 2007 and moved here to Portland in 1999. So I've lived in this neighborhood a long time, and I really love it here. I have 3 kids who all went to Beach Elementary School in the neighborhood program, and I'm just excited to help out in the being a board member.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much, Juliet. Yeah, it's great to see you again, and I do recall you sharing some of the story of your child going to Beach, and would love to connect with you about that. So, okay, who else can introduce themselves?
I'm a new board member as well. Hi guys, my name is Phil Potter. I'm going to be heading the grievance committee, and as well as participating in a few other of the side committees. I live at 1218 North Simpson Street. Bought the house here almost exactly 2 years ago, almost to the day. As a matter of fact, it might be to the day, I think. The 19th was when I signed 2 years ago. My wife and I live here. We don't have any kids, but my wife works in the Kenton neighborhood as well. Professionally, I am a sales director for a trucking company that is nationwide, but our local area is out off of 181st Street. It's called Frozen Food Express. And I've been in transportation in a larger sense for basically my entire professional career. I'm originally from the East Coast, Florida specifically, but bounced around a lot of different places up the Eastern Seaboard, working mostly in railroads. I came out to Oregon about 5 years ago to work for the Portland and Western Railroad, and since moved over to the trucking company. I've lived in North Portland. Well, when I first came here, I lived in Foster Powell, but I lived in a subsection of Overlook, I suppose, for most of the time that I've been in Oregon. And this is the first time I've been on a neighborhood association or committee, or really served as a board member. So I've got a lot to learn, but I'm excited to meet everybody and see what we can do for the next few years.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Phil. Maybe just as a side note, it might be worthwhile for you to check in with the sustainability committee, because I understand there was an update about diesel pollution related to fleets and trucks. Maybe you could help them navigate that issue.
Absolutely. That's exactly the type of thing that I could probably contribute to, just give some insight in, and something that, I'm interested in, certainly. So great. That's a great start.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much. Okay. Who else from our board can introduce themselves?
Oh, I will.
Hey, Alan.
I have trouble getting on you guys. Your agenda didn't come up for me, so I could get on.
Oh, I'm sorry for the trouble.
I had to go back through the Old Neighborhood Association one. So I could get, yeah, okay. I'm Alan Cran. I'm in charge of the newsletter, and I've been on here for about 20 years. And that's it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for being here for 20 years, and we hope you're here for 20 more. And sorry about the Zoom mix-up. That could have been my fault. So I'll try and log in a little earlier next time.
The agenda wouldn't even come up for me.
Okay.
I didn't get an email for an updated agenda or anything at my Hotmail address.
Huh. Okay. Well, I'll take responsibility for that. I think Stacy and I, as co-chairs, are still trying to figure out who's in charge of what. But noted, and we'll try and do better for the next time, Alan.
Okay.
Okay. Who else can introduce themselves? George.
George Spalding here. And Alan, you've been involved with the Overlook Neighborhood Association a lot longer than 20 years. Because you were on it before I was, and it's been 25 at least for me.
Okay.
Anyway. It's all the gray hair that it slows me down. Well, no. At any rate, George Spalding here. Public safety. I've been doing that for over 10 years. Before that, was also involved with land use, neighborhood cleanup, some of the stuff with the light rail and the albino plan, which we're we're seeing the results of that. And it's a lot more than people anticipated, that's for sure. I'm here on Willamette Boulevard. We've been here for 41 years actually. And the change in the neighborhood is getting more congested, that's for sure. So looking forward to seeing what unfolds. Hopefully we can get a face-to-face meeting sometime soon. I'm not good with this Zoom stuff. Just like I said, barely got on here, and I must admit trying to get that little bio and whatnot stuck in.
Yeah.
I'm using an iPad, and I stumble around with it periodically, so it's not a full computer, as it were. I haven't been able to use the one at the library for year and a half now, almost 2 years. And so that's a conundrum. So I still have to get that in. I was hoping to, it was at Cassie that it has to go to.
That's right. Yeah. Tomorrow is the deadline, actually, the 20th. So for those of you who haven't had a chance, send them a short bio of who you are. And if you have a headshot, that would be great. Send that to her as well.
And therein kind of lies the problem, sort of. Composing stuff to go out on this iPad. I'm using a hotspot, and the hotspot is kind of intermittent. And we've been spending a fair amount of time down at my mother-in-law's in Newburgh, and it's even spottier down there. So I tried to mess around with it a bit, and I didn't have a firm handle on where that was supposed to go. So that goes to Cassie.
Right.
It goes to Cassie. George, do you have a pen and a paper handy?
I do.
I'm going to give you my cell phone, 503-919-0766. And I just put it in the notes. If you need any help with that, with your iPad or the hotspot, you can give me a call and we'll figure something out. Okay.
Okay. That's 503-919-0766.
That's right.
Okay. And I might do that straight away after the meeting, if that's okay with you. And
sure, no problem.
I was noting that just in case, I don't know if it's possible, are all the old Overlook View electronically cataloged, as it were?
Uh,
They
I-
were.
I believe
I-
so.
Yes,
Yeah,
they're on
I-
it's on the website.
great.
Okay, so I kind of accessed into a paper copy that I have here. And worst comes to worst, would it be possible to get that same thing that came out of the winter 2019 edition and just copy it over?
Yeah,
Just
you
because
can
I
just,
can't
you can just
Well,
tell them to do that if you want.
Yeah.
with that.
All right, we will settle those issues offline. George, thanks again for
Okay.
being here and for overseeing public safety, and you and I will connect later. I see that our special guest tonight, Works Progress Architecture, I believe has joined. Can you hear us and see us okay?
Yes, I can hear and see everyone.
Great. Would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself? Because we do have you on our agenda. I've been dilly-dallying just a little bit, so I'm about 5 minutes over, but we'd love to have you present to our general meeting here the plans for 1560 North Going.
Sure, yep. I'm Carly. I'm an architect with Works Progress Architecture. The developer, I believe, should also be on the call. They're 1560 North Going LLC, and they're working on a development on that property. I can pull up a site plan
Sure.
if you just give me.
Carly, are you able to
It
turn
looks
your
like
video
it's-
on so we can see you?
Unfortunately, I'm remoting into my work computer, which means I can't actually turn my video on.
Okay, no problem. And is the
And it looks like I don't
developer,
have.
sorry, is the developer with us as well?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Hi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. My name is Yoni Schwartz, developer here in Portland, working with Works Progress on this project, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Okay, thanks for joining us, Yoni. We appreciate it. And thanks, Carly, for being here. I would say we have 20 minutes for the present, what I understand would be some kind of presentation about the development. I know that at least through email, I've heard there's a lot of people who are curious, want to learn more, maybe make some comments. I guess the way I'd like to propose this is if you guys could take 5, no more than 10 minutes to walk us through what's being proposed. And then to the extent that we can field questions in a concise and orderly way, I'd like to do that. So with that, I don't know if Yoni or Carly, you want to start, but the floor is yours.
Sure. Carly, would you like to get started, or do you want me to?
Sure,
take
yeah,
it?
I can give a general description.
Great.
So basically the property at 1560 North Going is going to be 32 apartments. It's a 3-story multifamily apartment building that will include some inclusionary housing on the site as well. I
we
see
have
that
any
someone's asking
photos?
about sharing. So I can pull up a site plan, but when I try, it does say the host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, can you,
I don't know
will
if I can
unlock
have
that.
permission to share.
it's okay, Nat, you should be able to,
Let's
Do that.
see here.
it'll be one of the options just to let.
Sorry, guys, bear with me. Hang tight just a second.
Should be on the security tab at the top if you're in full screen mode.
Security tab at the top. Security settings overview. Good Lord. Allowed to record, allowed to multi-pin, put in waiting room, report, rename, pin, chat. Okay, just a second, guys. Sorry, hang tight. Security tab. Allow participants to share screen. Okay, try that now.
Yep, it looks like it's working.
Okay.
Whew. Okay.
Does this show up for everybody?
Yeah,
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yep. So the development in question is this rectangle that I'm highlighting right now. It's 1560 North Going. Works Progress Architecture is separately developing this parcel that will provide some shared egress through the site. Currently, this site is a vacant parcel. There's nothing on the site at all. It is walled in from both of its street frontages going and interstate by it's a sound wall that PBOT has built on the site. It's technically just off of our site. This rectangle, this kind of dark edge is where the site boundary exists. So this rectangle is basically right here. This sound wall is on the public right of way and it's PBOT's, and it's something that we are not allowed to kind of edit or alter in any way. So our street frontage access point is actually going to be through this adjacent parcel to Colonial, as it's the only actual accessible route to this site. Let me just pay a number.
And what's the development on the on Colonial there, where on
Sure,
the
yep.
yeah.
So this is a separate development that Works Progress Architecture is also doing. This is also a 3-story apartment building here, and then it just has kind of an open park public plaza area in front of it. And this area over here is bike parking enclosure.
I mean, the development on the right there is directly on our property line, or right where our house is, and then there's a long going.
For whomever is speaking, Sneezy Boy is what it says. May I ask that you hold your comments about that till they at least can give their overview, please? And I'll definitely make sure you get a chance to bring that up. Does that sound okay to you?
Not sure who Sneezy Boy is.
Sorry, it says each participant has kind of a title in their Zoom window. So maybe it's someone in your house. If you'd like to introduce yourself, I can address you by your name. I'm sorry, it just says Sneezy Boy.
It's all.
Okay, so Carly, go ahead and continue if you would.
Sure. Yep, so this is the property in question that we're here to talk about today, which is the 1560 North Going. We have kind of a corridor site access running around the property. So the building is 10 feet away from the property lines on all the edges. It's a 35-foot tall building with 32 apartments, and we have some inclusionary housing units in here as well. There are 5 units total that meet that requirement. We have some outdoor kind of common areas as well. And then we are gating off this kind of gap in the wall towards interstate, where there's this kind of 70 to 80 foot public plaza park land, and just kind of putting in a security gate here to separate these 2 spaces.
Carly, would you mind
just
defining inclusionary housing, since you've referenced that a couple times?
Sure. Yep. So in Portland, inclusionary housing is, there's kind of different ways that you can meet the requirement, but essentially it provides, we're doing the 80% market rate. So we're providing 5 units that will rent for 80% of their market rate value. So they are considered a more affordable housing option. So we're providing 5 of those on this property.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I think you were potentially going to share some other images of the development. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is essentially what the development looks like. It's just 3 stories. It sits actually lower than the site that's to the south by quite a few feet. So we're actually 5 feet below the existing grade at this point. So this building, while it is 35 feet tall, from Prescott Street would actually be quite a bit shorter. But it is measured kind of from this point of the site, it's about 35 feet up.
Okay. I don't know if Yoni would like to add something. I know there's probably going to be several questions related to parking, to access, and sort of what this means, obviously, for those who are living directly in the vicinity of the development. But before we jump into each of those items, yeah, Mr. Schwartz, if you want to add any comments, please feel free.
No specific comments to add. WPA is doing a great job on this project, so just happy to answer any questions you guys may have. And yeah.
Can you go over the size and number of the units? I mean, 32 we know, but how's the breakdown?
I was gonna say, off the top of my head, I can't quite produce those numbers, but basically this floor plan is pretty much the same on all 3 levels, with the exception of we kind of add a corridor in the space on the upper levels. So we have 3 2-bedrooms, quite a few 1-bedrooms, these ones here and this one here, and then a couple of studio or smaller micro units. So that basically stacks all the way up. So offhand, I was gonna say, if we have about 5 1-beds, it looks like, so we should have 15 1-bedrooms, 3 2-bedrooms, and the rest would be studio apartments.
And what is the difference between a micro and a studio? Is it just size, or is there something else?
It's basically just size. The micros typically will have maybe a slightly smaller kitchen, but otherwise they are provided with the same types of amenities.
Thank you.
Could you, this is Nat, could you provide a current status as to the development? What's the timeline? Has it been approved, permitted, entitled by the city?
So the building was actually very recently just submitted for permit, so it is currently going through the permit intake process. So there is no kind of, it's not breaking ground anytime soon, and that timeline will be driven by current timelines of kind of BDS and when we can actually get the permit through. But yeah, so the current status is that we are in for permit, and that's essentially where the building is at.
Okay. And just before giving the floor to those who have additional questions, can you outline what the best way is for citizens, residents, and others to either submit public comment or engage in the actual entitlement process?
Thus far, the way it's been handled has just been emails to Works Progress Architecture. We do not have any sort of neighborhood meetings or anything else required for this site. So that's essentially the way that it's been handled.
And is there, can you either drop that email address into the chat, or you can tell it to me and I can write it into the chat for folks who are interested?
Sure, yeah, I'll type that up into the chat.
Great. Okay, the gentleman who didn't realize he was known as Sneezy Boy, you have your hand up. Would you like to jump in?
Yeah, I guess I could be Sneezy Man. I'm at 1565 North Prescott, and the house that is located on that property, that I guess I'm not sure if it's up for discussion today or not, but I've tried reaching out several times to the realtor who sold the house or who purchased a house or helped in that purchase about the condition of the house, the condition of the property. We have concerns about squatters moving into that home, and we haven't had any response. And I'm wondering what's the best way to go about that. And then I have some additional questions about the development itself.
So I won't speak for Works Progress Architecture, but I'm wondering if it's a squatters issue, if that's just a direct call to the city. I don't know if I understand Casey, who leads our homeless efforts, was not able to join tonight, but maybe we can connect you with him.
Well,
that is actually the homeowner's responsibility.
it's more about the condition.
It's the property owner's.
Condition of, there's no lights and just kind of preventing that.
Okay.
Yeah, preventative, I guess, I'm thinking, because it's directly next to our house.
Sure, absolutely. I'd be happy to follow up with at least the contact info that we have with the city. So if you want to drop your email or your phone number, I also dropped my cell phone into the chat though. So you're welcome to text or call me if you'd like. Try and get you connected.
Okay, and then it looks like that piece of property is a separate discussion, but it looks like that piece of property is kind of the linchpin to access the other pieces of property. So I'm a
Sure.
little, if we're discussing that whole piece of property, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, it sounds like tonight's discussion is just regarding the 1560, rectangle that we see on the screen. I don't know if there will be a separate meeting to discuss the other parcel, but that's my understanding. And so it looks like Michelle is suggesting that we allow Carly and Yoni to add or conclude any remarks. I'm not sure if you guys have anything further that you would like to add for the group today. And then let's go to Marcy after that.
I have a
I think
question.
at this point, just responding to questions is probably the easiest way to handle it. As far as this property goes, this property is also under for permit, just so everyone understands. The timelines on both of these are concurrent. And this is kind of a permanent easement that will be filed. So this isn't something that can be taken away at any point. This will be kind of permanent access to this property here on this site. And then as far as the existing status of the house, that is something that the property owner would have to handle. Works Progress Architecture has no kind of say or jurisdiction in that, but I can pass along the message.
Okay. Marcy, did you want to make a comment? I know you had your hand up.
Yes, my concern is the notice, the development notice that they put up on Going Street that got stolen by the homeless camp was in an incredibly inappropriate location. Nobody was able to see it. And they did not replace it once it got stolen, so nobody really knew about this. Also, these lots are actually so combined that the back lot can't happen until the front lot happens. So really they are kind of the same question in that they can't get to that back lot until the front lot is developed. So the person that owns the house next to Jean and Ollie is not taking care of it, and it is becoming overrun with rats and grass. And it's going to have squatters in it. So the whole, I realize it's only architecture, but these lots are completely combined. So trying to separate them and saying that it's different, you can't do the back lot until the front lot's done. So I would like them both to be addressed, really.
Okay, I see.
And
in the
whoever
chat,
owns the property needs to board it up or make sure that there aren't squatters in there. If that's not Yanni, then
yeah,
he's with that developer because they're together.
So I think one of the key questions is, what is the responsibility of Works Progress? What is the responsibility of Yanni or the developer? And what is the responsibility of the city? It sounds to me like on the squatting issue, that's more for, I believe, if it's Alessandro or the homeowner there, to contact the city directly. At least that's what I'm reading between the notes here. With respect to the actual notice of development, Carly, can you speak to that? Is that something that your firm is responsible for or the city is responsible for? Because I think it's a very fair point. I drove past there today and the sign was, I think, being added to the firewood pile at that site.
Sure. So as far as the development notification sign posting, it has to be posted 35 days before it's submitted for permit. You have to post it on the 2 street frontages. In this case, we talked to the city and they told us to post it on our going frontage. So we posted it on this street, which is the only required posting we had for this property. There is no sidewalk, so I do understand that it's hard to read, but the development notice is also posted online. There's access to kind of all of the current development notices that have been posted for properties, so all of that information is available online as well. But we
And-
did
and
comply
that
with
is
the city
correct.
requirements for posting.
That is correct. You are technically correct. But as you know, there is no sidewalk there, and you knew nobody would be able to see that. So really, that is not really fair to the neighborhood as a development that you know that nobody can see that.
All right, I'm gonna just with my own sort of perspective here, let's give the benefit of the doubt. I'm not sure that there was nefarious intent, but I think it's a reasonable request that the actual notification be in a more visible and accessible location.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So I think, Carly, if you're willing to help support that, I think it would be really worthwhile on the North Prescott side.
We can try that, but so basically the rules are it has to be posted on your own property. I would have to have someone who wanted us to post it on their property to be able to put it on a different street.
Okay.
Well, then do it.
All right, yeah. So Marcy, I understand you're passionate about following up here. Carly provided her email address. Maybe you can email her with that specific request and then copy me, and we can take that as an action following this, okay? Let's get back to some of the questions that are here. There's some questions related to where parking will be. That's certainly one of my questions, and access. I'm curious if Carly and Yoni, you can speak to that, please. And then Matt, will come to you.
So the
parking.
question is about, yeah, we're trying to focus this as being more of a bike friendly property. So we aren't providing any parking with the proximity to the Max line. We're shooting for this to be more of a transit oriented building with providing ample parking spots, bike parking for the tenants, and then having an access point for them to have quick access from the Max line to the building through that corner entrance.
So is the expectation that those residents who either have a car but don't use it, or do use a car frequently, will just be expected to park on street in the vicinity?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any statistics about what percentage of transit-oriented developments actually are transit only or bike only? Like, how realistic is it to think that all these 32 folks won't have a car?
Based off of past development, we've seen that less than 50% of tenants will have cars. But we're never clear on exactly how many. But yeah, we are shooting for tenants to have more of a to be more on the bike side of things.
Okay. All right. I'd like to field some more questions. Matt has had his hand up. Matt, can you unmute and go ahead and pose your question?
Hi. My question is regarding the development and construction's use of the land that they own, or renting other land or using the street for construction materials or construction worker parking. What is their plan for that? Because it's kind of a cul-de-sac, so they can't exactly put the construction materials in the street. We've had other developments in the past that have used vacant lots nearby or brought stuff in temporarily. So I was just wondering what they plan to do as far as getting all the materials to the site, as well as, again, employee parking during the build.
Of course, yeah, we're going to do everything that we can to have the least amount of impact on the neighborhood. So in regards to staging of construction materials, they'll be left on the site. We'll make sure that the site is fully gated, so it's not an eyesore. And in regards to parking, we always request that our subs and our contractors carpool as much as possible. So if there's minimal amount of cars on the street if possible. And we can always discuss having that parking be on the vacant lot as well.
Okay, Dakota, would you like to pose your question? Dakota? Can you speak a little closer to the microphone, Dakota? Yep.
Are you hearing any noise?
Yep, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I thought the microphone wasn't working. I live in 1533, which is the easternmost of the attached housing block. And we currently have a gate that goes into that. Going to look like with the development, how much space are we going to have between our house and the development, and what's going to be there?
Dakota, I apologize. Your audio was great, and then it sort of got muted. I think what I heard was how much space would be between the new development and your current location. Can you try one more time?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The building is set back 10 feet from the south property line.
Okay, well, so we have a gate into that space right now. Will we?
All right, Dakota, unfortunately, your audio is not awesome. If you're willing, can you try and put your question or your comment into the chat box, and we'll come back to it. And in the meantime, Michelle, if you'd like to pose your question, please go ahead. Michelle, Michelle, you're on mute. There you go.
Hi, thank you. No, my question was about the easement and the other development, but I was just looking at Portland maps and think I have a better idea now. I was trying to understand how close the new development would be to the homeowner's back property line.
Okay. Any other comments on the setback?
Are you talking about this building or?
Sorry, no, on the other building. Just about that easement that you said would be a permanent open space.
Yeah, it's this 20-foot easement that runs through both these two properties. It's also required for fire access primarily to this back building, as you can't access a fire truck on these sides.
Got it.
So
Thank you.
Technically a fire access easement.
Okay. Folks, I hate to do this, but we're over time. So if there are any remaining questions, okay, Dakota was able to get her comment in. Let's make sure we get this. She says, we currently have a gate from our yard into the open lot. Will we be allowed to access that 10-foot easement, or will it be closed?
Dakota, your property is which one exactly?
I believe it's this one on the east side.
Of 1533 North Prescott. Yeah, we'll have a retaining wall or some sort of fencing from on our property from your property. So there will be a separation.
So will it be a wall, or will it be an easement they can get down into?
It will be a wall. The easement that we're referring to is more of a fire access easement, which is where Carly is has her arrow. The wall fence, whatever we have that hasn't been specified just yet specifically. That's not. There's no easement on that southern portion of the property. That is just a property line at that point.
Okay. All right. I am going to ask that folks who have additional questions or comments, please use info@worksarchitecture.net. I understand that's the best way. And then Yoni, do you have an email that you can share as the developer should people want to contact your firm and you directly?
I think it would probably be best to just share with Works Progress, and they can always forward anything over to us, and we're happy to respond.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate your making some time, and I would just ask if you can please carve out the time for the appropriate follow-up with folks who are nearby. We would really appreciate that.
Of course, happy to answer any questions and jump on a phone call, whatever we can do. Happy to help.
All right. Folks, I know I'm sure people want to talk further on this. I apologize, but I'm just going to have to ask us to move on as we have a couple other items on our agenda for this evening. So next up is a quick discussion around North Portland in Motion. Nick, are you ready to give us a quick overview?
Yeah, so hey everybody, I kind of saved my intro from earlier, but I'm I believe the transportation chair also, but I'm a new board member. I guess a little bit about me, and I'll try to keep it kind of quick. I'm a civil engineer, actually work at KPFF. Sounds like a radio station. It's not a radio station. But yeah, so anyways, I'm getting my head involved in a lot of transportation projects, and I'm also a member of Bike Loud and the Street Trust. If you haven't heard of them, they're local advocacy groups that are often kind of looking to support and engage community members. So I'm kind of wearing a few different hats here as I present this. So yeah, either way, with this North Portland in Motion program, I will go ahead and share my screen. As right now, I'm in the community advisory group, and it looks like I'm the only one from Overlook. So I will bear the responsibility of being the person that can bring forward Overlook's concerns overall. But of course, this is a public project. It's meant to be a community involvement project, so there'll be many opportunities for people to engage directly about North Portland in Motion. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And I will go ahead and do this full screen mode. There we go. So I'll just kind of quickly present and just run through kind of what we were presented as the community advisory group a couple weeks ago by the Portland Bureau of Transportation. The planner for this project is Mike Saratella. His contact information is in the corner here, which I'll go ahead and share into the chat also. But he's going to be somebody you can email directly about any concerns or things you want to discuss. Yeah, so there's a community advisory group. We are just members selected from the community that live in North Portland, and just trying to get people in these positions to kind of to be presented to, and to kind of get feedback and get direct engagement. But overall, though, the North Portland in Motion, it's a big planning effort by the city to kind of look at how we direct funding and investments to the more near-term transportation projects, things that we can get done on our streets quickly. These might be quick build projects that we often hear of on the transportation planning side, but nothing really substantial per se. It's really just what are the quick fixes and things that we can solve to really help get people better access to the neighborhood, especially, active transportation, just as John was talking about, that includes walking, biking, transit, pretty much anything that doesn't involve a car, trying to provide greater access and better mobility for those users. So if you've heard of something in motion before, it's because other quadrants in the city or other areas in the city have already had their in motion plans. North Portland is just the next one up on the list. Yeah, so here's four of them that we see here. I think the most recent one is the Southwest in Motion. I believe the next one actually just says here. Now, Lower Southeast Rising was the most recent one. But anyway, so North Portland is the one we're working on now. And I guess to clarify, I'm not working with PBOD. This is just something that I am involved in with as a community member. So overall, though, this is going to be taking over the next 2 years. So we're going to be meeting at least once a month to kind of talk about areas and possible projects and ways that we can help PBOT make our streets better and safer for people walking, biking, and taking transit. Yeah, so I'll kind of quickly go through some of these slides. The project areas, pretty much everything in the North Portland Peninsula. So that includes us and Overlook right down there in the, southeast corner of it all, but everything essentially west of I-5 and in between the river and the Columbia industrial area. So looking at that, there's a few things that we consider: the equity priority. There's the fixing our streets program, where there's already kind of several projects kind of lined up and keyed up, ready to go. But what this does is it essentially allows PBOT to have a more clear way to ask for funding for projects when we have community support behind these projects. So this is us essentially lining up that community support for certain projects. But of course, we want to keep the involvement and keep people, keep it pretty open and accessible. So yeah, overall, there's a few things. They've already kind of done some outreach opportunities. You may have already heard about this. I may already be kind of sounding like a broken record. It's not really too complicated, but once again, it's just trying to get people to bring up their concerns or bring up things that they know about in North Portland that can be fixed or adjusted quickly to provide better access. Things like the pedestrian network, there's known issues in areas where there's maybe a lack of crossings. I think here you can see that blue stripe right down the middle. That's Lombard, of course. So that's already something that's being prioritized and essentially fixed in the current work, which I'm sure we are all aware of right now is going on. Missing sidewalks, places in the biking network that could use improvement or are just missing key gaps, and providing better, safer, and accessible biking infrastructure overall for all users. And of course, transit service. I think one of the big concerns was, we went over this in our first meeting, was trying to provide quicker and more frequent transit service for North Portland. I think anybody who relies on a bus here in North Portland will probably say the same thing and get frustrated by how long it takes to take a bus anywhere in North Portland to anywhere else in the rest of Portland. It takes usually a better chunk of an hour to at least get to the other side of the river. So yeah, looking at that and really trying to see what we can do and work with TriMet also and plan and engage on that level. And of course, the discussion about, ways that we can do better parking management and provide safer streets overall for, cut through traffic and just how we manage vehicles on our roads also. So yeah, so, there's a few other things that we're talking about here in North Portland in Motion. This is not my presentation, so I don't want to give you the good hour-long thing. Kind of breaking apart things that we've done before. Here's the timeline, so I'll let it kind of sit here for a little bit. Yeah, so there's still plenty of work to do as part of this North Portland in Motion Community Advisory Group level and getting this plan together for the city. So the final ending of this all is that the city adopts it and it goes to city council. And then from there, this essentially sets the framework for all these projects to move forward. So as I said before, this is essentially a more near-term project list. So within the next 10 years, 15 years, these kinds of projects that can really fix those little gaps here and there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I want to have time for.
Nick, just in the interest of time, can you share with the group the best way for folks to contribute, make comment, pose questions, and participate?
Yeah, so overall though, you could either email me, but I would say email Mike Saratella first. He's the project manager for this, and I'll drop his email in the chat here in just a second. He is somebody that is essentially gathering all of these, all of everybody in North Portland's concerns and kind of bringing this to the board. And yeah, so I would email him first. And then of course, in the future, as we kind of tee up this North Portland in Motion Community Advisory Group, we're going to have several opportunities to engage. That might be, you might actually be hearing from Mike directly in the future at one of these neighborhood association meetings.
Perfect.
So,
awesome.
Anyway.
Nick, thank you very much. I'm sorry that this was somewhat abridged, but really appreciate you keeping us apprised of this. Love to hear more about what specific recommendations for Overlook itself. you would have, but let's take that up in the next meeting.
Cool. And then just real quick, I'll send in the chat too the link to the project website. So if you have other questions, I'm sure you can go to the website too.
Fantastic. All right. Very quickly, we have a quick item on our agenda, which is board reports. I'm not entirely sure what that is, to be 100% honest with you. I did see a report come through from our sustainability committee that raised issues related to emissions of volatile organic compounds from Union Pacific, from the rail yard, the Albina rail yard. I know that there are issues with diesel pollution from fleets locally. There is also a tree planting initiative underway that the sustainability committee is asking Overlook to endorse more formally. So I can share that very quickly, at least anecdotally, on behalf of sustainability. Are there other board reports that members would like to share?
This is Brad. I need to have the minutes approved. That would be the big one here at some point.
Fantastic. Can we do that now? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Why don't I, let me.
You want to put them up maybe?
Yeah. And share. Put the share button, helps.
So these are the minutes from our October 5th meeting. Yep.
All right. I think most of the challenge of that meeting was to figure out who's going to do what. We found we did make it through there, and then working on the Overlook views. That was it. And I did change to say Nada during the meeting because you were running that show by then.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve these minutes? Can you either say aye? So moved. Okay, fantastic. Is there a second?
I can second.
Great. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Hearing no opposed, the motion passes. So we have approved minutes. Brad, anything else that you'd like to share or add?
The other one, hopefully Nick hasn't seen all of the emails today on this, but the Columbia River crossing, whatever you want to call the new version of it, where they're discussing the Hayden Island interchange at the moment. And they're actually, yesterday I got an email saying that we need feedback in the next 24 hours on this, which didn't work very well for this. I had now heard that they have postponed the meeting that was going to occur tomorrow, where they wanted the feedback for. They've postponed that. I'm waiting for a deadline, and once we've got that, then I think we can distribute it perhaps in the e-blast, and folks can take a look. And they've got 3 different options as far as what to do with Hayden Island and the interchanges there. The more of an interchange you have, the more land it takes, and the less interchange you have, the less land it takes. But how do you make it all work? So
great.
Anyway, we'll send that around on Sunday. That was probably the other news.
Perfect. Are there any other members that have a board report to share this evening? Great. Hearing none, I can quickly share. Stacy Nussel and I, as co-chairs, had an opportunity to sit down to talk about how we want to think about our participation in the Overlook Neighborhood Association. And we are, hi, George. Okay.
I had a heck of a time getting in there. It wouldn't unmute and do the video back. Anyway.
Sure, go right ahead.
I do have a quick note for the general folks out there. There's going to be a Public Safety Action Committee meeting coming up Thursday. That's day after tomorrow. And they sent out the Zoom connection to it already, but anybody that wants to can get in there. I just need to contact them, and their email address is psac.nne.pdx@gmail.com. That is psac.nne.pdx@gmail.com. And that's for the this monthly Public Safety Action Committee meeting, which I believe Akimi and Judith are going to be heading up. So I just wanted to get that in there for everybody to know that it's going to be happening this coming Thursday.
Perfect. Thank
The
you.
21st.
Thank you, George. Much appreciated. I will round us out by quickly sharing that Stacy Nussel, my fellow co-chair, she and I had an opportunity to talk about what priorities we would think of for the Overlook Neighborhood Association, both being new as chairs. We'll be presenting that to our board meeting later this month for discussion and hopefully some approval. But I can share broadly that, you know, neighborhood associations have to wrestle with so many issues, myriad challenges and issues, and there's only so many people. And the number one thing that I think I'd like to see is real focus, and what are the top couple of things that we want to accomplish and do, and what would guide our activities for the following year. And in that context, what we discussed was really a strong focus on reducing unauthorized homeless camps and partnering with the city for reasonable alternatives that support people in need. Also looking at improving the quality and standing of our local schools. You know, as a parent, I can say very selfishly, that's a top priority. And another is creating a thriving neighborhood and our neighborhood association through support for local businesses, groups, and community activities. And we've already seen a number of initiatives like a Solve cleanup, an Overlook community bike ride that may happen either monthly or quarterly. So there's a lot we want to do to make these meetings not dry, but really participatory and get the best out of everyone in the neighborhood for the betterment of the neighborhood. So you can count on us to, I think, present that to our board in our closed board meeting, and then hopefully share that in the next general as to what our priorities are moving forward. So with that, I'd like to move to public comments. Would anyone like to provide any public comment? If you would, can you either raise your hand, or I see Michelle raised her hand. I will do my very best to go through in the order I see that. So let's start with Michelle, and then we'll go to Marcy. And please keep your comments as tight as possible. Again, that's my fault, not yours, just to try and keep us on track. So Michelle, go ahead.
Hi, I'm just here with a quick thank you to the Neighborhood Association and the board for the funds towards our new planter boxes at the intersection repair on North Concord and Overlook Boulevard. They have been installed and I think they look beautiful. You can watch for a sign that we're creating that will explain the elements in our painting and some new plantings that will go on, but otherwise, it's 100% improvement and nice conclusion to a 3-year project. Thank you very much for financial contribution and help.
Fantastic, and thanks for your work to make it happen. Much appreciated.
Hey, Michelle, it's Brad. Real quick question: are there going to be some reflectors or something going on those planters?
There is reflective paint on them currently.
Okay, I need to go by there in the dark. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, Marcy.
Hello, some of you know me. I was last year's secretary, and I worked with George on safety. And tomorrow night, there's a meeting with Jacob, and we're going to be talking about public safety and Overlook and how to be a bystander. I mean, how to be a upstander instead of bystander, and just, you know, how to protect yourself in the neighborhood. I think the link went out with Cassie. So it's a Zoom meeting. It's like a 2-hour meeting. So would like you to attend if you can. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Marcy. Brad, I know you had your hand up and then I saw Bo. So Brad, you're good. Okay, Bo, go ahead. You're on mute. Yeah.
Yes, this is just a reminder to the board, since Cassie is not here tonight, that articles for the views is due tomorrow, so we can get the publication put together for printing.
And may I ask, Bo, is there a, do you require anything from either myself or Stacy as new chairs?
Yes, a DNA test and a blood sample would be great, but
you know, funny you mentioned that. I can probably make that happen. My dad is a huge ancestry.com guy, but it's pretty boring. But if you really do need anything, please let us know.
Will do.
Awesome. Okay, Nick. Nick, you're on mute.
Classic. Hey, yeah, you brought it up a little earlier, and I just kind of wanted to announce to everybody, since I'm a lot better at just vocalizing this in emails. Yeah, I'd like to plan to do like a monthly bike ride. We could talk about transportation or things in Overlook. I don't know if it's going to be something that we would have to put in minutes, but I think as far as having like a transportation committee meeting, I'm thinking we could do the bike ride, but then of course we can go somewhere and have coffee or something like that and do the actual meeting. These would be really short bike rides, really meant for beginners too, and very family friendly. So keep your eyes peeled, and I'll hopefully get it into the newsletter here too, that keep this a monthly thing and keep the activity going. So yeah.
Fantastic. Love it. Yeah, definitely let us know the dates so people can mark their calendar, and let's all try and get out there. I think it's a great segue to also mention, you know, these are trying times being in COVID landia, but increasingly I know that folks are trying to get together in a safe way, and I would really welcome that, certainly as a board, but for the broader, you know, Overlook Neighborhood Association would love to look at possibilities for meeting outdoors, utilizing our parks. I've got a fire pit in the backyard, and I've got a fridge full of beer. I can provide pizza. So something like that, folks. I'd love to hear what your comfort level is, but would just be great to see you in the flesh and hopefully get some things done. So let's do it. Does that sound good? Maybe give a virtual thumbs up to beer, pizza, and seeing people 6 feet away from one another.
That's at your place, isn't it?
Well, George, your house is the alternate. You're the fallback in case I can't do it. But yes, I will gladly host. Happy
no fire
to do
pit,
so.
no beer.
Michelle, did you have another comment, or did I just forget to take your hand down?
No, I had a new comment, which was that we might even organize a night at Atomic Pizza where we could do more of a gathering. They have a great patio out back.
Perfect.
To do pizza and beverages sort of thing.
That sounds great.
That sounds great. Yeah.
Okay, I will take it upon myself to maybe propose a couple dates for folks, and let's get it done. Let's do it. Sounds awesome.
Before the rains. Sounds great.
Cool. All right. Any last additional comments, either from the public, from board? I apologize again if I missed anything or sort of paved over folks. Anything else to share before we adjourn for the evening? Cool. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for your time, for your patience, and for your courtesy. I think we have a lot that we can work on and get done this year. I, for one, am very excited to work with all of you. So send your ideas, your thoughts, keep the communication going. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you all again. Thanks so much and have a great evening.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Great meeting.
Thanks.
And I have to say, if you weren't already married, the way that you manage a meeting makes me want to marry you. Great job. That was right up my alley.
I'm going to let my wife know that. Thank you for making my day. I appreciate it.
Don't tell Pete, though.
See you guys. Take care.
Thanks very much. Good night.
Bye-bye.